Marcy Croft, founder, chief visionary officer, Mississippi Cannabis Trade Association, and the executive director shows up. That is Jessica Rice, and we welcome you, Jessica and Marcy. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
It's good to have both of you here.
Good morning. Yes, thank you for having us.
Marcy was Perez. You may not know this because you couldn't hear the conversation, but Marcy's been around as a listener for a long time.
That's right. I was, I won't say forced. I had the pleasure of listening in, riding in the car with my dad to school every day.
And he was?
He was Bill Bryan, right. Bill Bryan of Bryan Tours here in Jackson.
Perez, were you on the air with us when we were doing the Bryan Tours?
I've been on the air since the early 20s. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, that was a long time ago. I think that was, and we did a segment every single once a week.
That's right.
On taking a vacation somewhere or the other.
That's right. And once my brother and sister and I figured out that we could call in, we would, about once a month, call in, put on a fake voice, ask a nice traveler question, and he knew the whole time.
He knew it.
That we could hear it in his voice.
He knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah, so he would love that I'm here today. Thank you for having us.
I'm sure he's proud of you. Both of you are esteemed lawyers now.
Yes.
And you've created this organization. First of all, tell me a little bit, since you're the founder, how it came about. Then we're talking about the Mississippi Cannabis Trade Association.
That's right. Well, I grew up around trade associations. I can remember putting on trade shows here in Jackson for years and years. And after Initiative 65 passed and we started really digging into the industry and seeing all of the opportunity that existed for the state once it came, all of the new jobs, thousands of them, new businesses, new entrepreneurial opportunities for Mississippians, we thought, this does need a trade association, so why not found one? And we were, I think, and I may be wrong, and actually I kind of hope I am, but I think we may be the first trade association founded by both men and women from Mississippi, founded by both black citizens of Mississippi and white citizens of Mississippi.
Tell me, Jessica, being the executive director, how did you come to this post?
So I have been researching cannabis in other states for a couple of years now with my former firm that I was at, and just saw the benefits that it had in other states with economic growth, how a medicinal program can really help patients lower opiate deaths, how it can be really beneficial for the society when done properly. And so I wanted to get in on this and make sure that all the research I had been doing for the past couple of years was really going to benefit the Mississippi.
How are you guys funded?
Well, we are funded by memberships, so people in Mississippi who want to join the trade association can come and join in as an individual member. So you're kind of starting off with
zero balance and going up.
That's right, yeah. So we put in our own money to start, right?
Yes.
So do you have any members now that are contemplating this?
Yeah, we have several members. We have a couple hundred people who have joined in.
Already?
Yes.
A couple of hundred people?
Hundreds, yes.
You mean individuals?
Yes, individuals.
Can a licensee own more than one pot shop?
Well, they're medicinal.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said pot shop.
Right.
You see the body language on that one. Well, you got to correct this guy immediately.
We're used to that, though.
That's all right.
That's why we're here.
The medicinal shop. Can someone own more than one?
So we're going to have to wait and see what the regs say about that.
Oh, is that right? So that's still to be determined.
Right. So, that's going to be the Department of Health. They're going to set forth all those regulations and rules. And so we'll have to wait and see on July 1st.
But they cannot block a municipality. In other words, a municipality cannot block one from coming in anywhere in the state.
Well, that's not quite true, right? What Initiative 65 says is that they cannot be treated differently than any other similarly situated business. Basically, you have to treat...
But there is no other similar business.
Sure, there are pharmacies. Absolutely, there are, where people go every day to buy scheduled pharmaceuticals.
I understand that, but again,
else,
it's
right?
not you would have to have an argument. That would be a good legal argument in court, would it not be? If they are similar?
Maybe a good legal argument, but also true.
And it's also in the language of 65 itself, right? It talks about how you just can't add additional burdens onto them. You need to treat them just like Basically, you would any other pharmacy or anything like that that's dispensing
Would that
medication.
mean, and it's good to have two lawyers here, would that mean also that they would be subjected to the zoning regulations and or when you could open, when you could close, et cetera, within the confines of that municipality?
I think well, first of all, as you know, planning and zoning rules and laws and litigation go on and on forever. So I wouldn't want to prejudge, but the intent of 65 was to ensure that businesses that sold medicinal marijuana would not be discriminated against for doing so. So to the extent that they are going to operate and be treated like pharmacies, I would think they would be subject to, for example, the same building code requirements in a city, right? They might have to look a certain way depending on where they are. They would be limited to whatever the commercial zoning rules would be that are in existence. You just can't dump more on top of them because of what they are selling. That's all it is.
I understand that. Would those definitions that you just put forth be the final arbiter to that be the health department or existing law?
Well, I think in any zoning issue, you would have to go through the zoning process in any city or county if you had any exceptions or anything you wanted to do.
Let me ask Jessica this. When you start talking about it, as far as the Mississippi Cannabis Trade Association, what is the mission statement?
So our mission statement is to promote a responsible, professional cannabis business and industry in the state. So we want to provide resources to our membership, to the general public, to regulatory bodies, to policymakers about how to create a strong industry in the state that will protect and serve Mississippians.
Are there going to be other trade associations coming in, or do you have any idea what other groups may come in, or would they be, or do other states have several different organizations?
Some states have several different organizations, and look, anyone that is willing to put in the work hard for Mississippi to get this industry going, we certainly welcome them.
Some of the 200 you're talking about are 200 individual potential businesses in the state already. Are they from? I don't want any names, but are they from any collective area, or they're all across the state?
They're all across the state. So I have talked to, I would say, maybe 50 people individually, and I, encourage your listeners to also reach out. I will schedule a personal, individualized meeting with them, which I've done for several people.
What questions can you answer? Legal questions, or?
No, just general questions. People just want to know how to get involved, what the trade association offers, what their membership will get them, what is happening with the Supreme Court case, what's happening in the legislature, and being a lawyer,
there are a lot of things you can't answer because there's number one, it's kind of flexible alternative now as far as the rules put forth by the health department. Do we know where that is, Marcy?
Well, we have seen some of the health department meetings. They've been putting them online on YouTube, so we've certainly watched those. They have pledged that they will be able to meet their constitutional deadline by July 1 to have those regulations ready. Just in the community, we hear that the Department of Health is reaching out to other departments in the state to get some assistance in writing those regulations, whether it's the Drug Enforcement Agency or any other agency. So everything seems on track so far.
I hear that they're beginning to winnow down who may be leading this or that and trying to put some things together. Do you think they're on course to get it done?
I believe they are. They say they are, and so I'm going to believe them until they show me otherwise.
Is it going to be, from what you gather, another agency within an agency, a sub-agency in there as far as the cannabis agency?
Yeah, we would have no way of knowing. That's completely up to the Department of Health. Our only concern is that medical marijuana be made available and safely accessible here.
All the questions, I'll ask you some of them, because a lot of the questions have to come from not the medical marijuana owners there, but also the people who may want to grow this.
Right.
And all of the specifications there. It's a whole new ball game, and I guess you draw a lot of that from other states that have been doing this on an existing basis for
Correct.
a while. We'll talk more about that with these two ladies, Jessica Rice, Executive Director and Founder of the Mississippi Cannabis Trade Association, Marcy Croft, the founder of the Mississippi Cannabis Trade Association, and also Jessica Rice. Jessica is the Executive Director And we were talking to Jessica, we were mentioning there's so many other questions about growers, who's going to do it, who are they taking shape now? I mean, we are the 1st of March.
Right. So, yeah, I have talked to a lot of different folks who want to do grows. They want to do testing or processing or be a dispensary or have some kind of ancillary business like insurance or HR. You know, people are really starting to think and plan about
Do you
how.
have those answers?
Well, you know, for the ones that I do, I can point them to experts, you know, in other states and say this is what other people are doing. And then we've got to wait till July 1. And, you know, I've told many people I'm going to be the first one going through the regs and looking at them and kind of breaking them down and assisting our membership from July 1 to August 15th when they can
Either
apply.
of you ladies going to be involved in a bricks and mortar store?
No, not in a bricks and mortar store as of this point. No.
There's nothing else beside it. You can't mail order it.
No, but you can. Well, there are other aspects to this business, right, Paul? So you have people that grow. You'll have outdoor.
Well, I understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are several
So you could be
vertical
involved
lines.
in some other ways. From the C-Spar text line, Scott in Clinton says, how would marijuana get to the stores? Isn't it illegal to transport marijuana across state lines? Yes.
So, yes, it is. It
gotta
is
grow it
still.
within.
That's right. It's
But
still
that's
federally
the
illegal.
truth about every state that has marijuana, whether
That's correct.
recreational or medical, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, for Mississippi right now, that's actually a good thing. That means that every sale of marijuana here in the state of Mississippi, from seed to sale, we will track that product. It will be grown here. It will be extracted here. It will be packaged here. It will be sold here. And until it is federally descheduled, that is the case. You have to grow it within your borders, right? And so, you know, that to me is the interesting part because we get to spend a little bit of time at least until it's federally descheduled, learning, mastering it. Because here's the great part of this, Paul. Once it is federally descheduled and everyone you ask says that's coming, it has to come.
Sooner than later.
The banks want it, business wants it, Wall Street wants it, so it'll finally happen, right? And once it is, then the question is, where can you grow it, package it, put it together that's going to be the cheapest? And guess what? Mississippi is amazing at growing things. And we can finally, possibly, really increase industry here, really increase jobs here once those open markets open up.
We have farmers with a lot of expertise in that, too. I understand that. That might, in some ways, be a negative because it's not that easy to grow, is it?
I don't think it's a negative. I think, you know, Mississippians are
I mean,
flexible.
to achieve what you want for the end consumer, who's pretty ticky about this.
Oh, that's right.
And to get the potency and the varieties and everything else. Can you use somebody else's variety?
Well,
Existing.
You can. I mean, look, when they are under a certain THC level, I think someone asked how everything gets started, right? When the plants are under a certain THC level, when they're very young, you can bring them across state lines. It doesn't violate state law. So you can bring in some very young plants. They're still under the limits, and then we can grow them here, and you can cross them here. You can do all of that in state once they're across the state lines.
You can cross them. You mean grafting in some ways?
Breeding them, crossing. Yeah, you know, this isn't the marijuana of the movies from the 60s, right? So whenever I talk to my parents' friends, for example, their experience with it, really, they flash back to those movies from the 60s where all the hippies are smoking weed and all the
What's different?
Well, let me tell you, and all the cool guys are smoking what in those movies?
Cigarettes.
That's right. That's what they smoke, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the illegalization of marijuana came from not from any logical reason for doing it, but from corporate interests, right? Tobacco or the plastics people or the cotton people, or that you look back in the 30s and 40s, it was legal for thousands of years before that. And then corporate interests got involved and all of a sudden it's illegal for a while.
Yeah.
So
what's the fee? Kyle is asking, what is the fee to grow this in Arkansas? He says here, Arkansas is $100,000 a year. That can't be right.
that is right.
The fee to grow it in Arkansas is $100,000?
Which is why Arkansas's program is so terrible. And so
Wait a minute. It's a yearly fee
Yes.
of $100,000 paid to the Arkansas state government?
correct.
What is it here?
Well, it hasn't been established here, but here's the difference. In Arkansas, they wanted to limit growers to 4 or 5, really. And that's what they've effectively done. It's a monopoly, a built-in state-sponsored monopoly.
That hasn't been decided here.
But it has. The voters decided it. In Initiative 65, they said that it should be reasonably available. So what that really means under the law is, our Department of Health can't come in and make the fee so high that it basically deprives Mississippians of their right.
Yeah, but you two ladies could make some money and more than marijuana by describing or by handling the legal fee of some adjudication on the terminology of reasonable.
What? Lawyers make money off legal fees? No, that would never happen, Paul.
Will you be handling some cases on that?
Look,
not at this time.
Not at this time. We don't have any at this time. And,
Right.
and you know what? I hope I don't need to. How about
Exactly.
that? I hope I don't have to be hired to do that.
There are going to be more lawsuits on this in different areas than there are varieties of marijuana.
Not necessarily.
Wait and see.
Not necessarily. If they do right, then we won't have a problem.
We also don't even have any idea who can go to work with marijuana on them or not, and what is legal and where you can bring it and all of this stuff.
Right. So it's kind of good because it allows Mississippians to really develop and create this industry,
And you do that through the adjudication process. So therefore, lawyers are going to make some money on this.
Well, not
That's one of the
necessarily.
ways.
I mean, you do it through regulation, right? You do it through the language of Initiative 65. We know, for example, you can't smoke medical marijuana in public. That's in the language of 65.
Can
right?
you
So-
do it in your car?
Well, nothing in its Initiative 65 specifically says this. Nothing in Initiative 65 allows you or permits the operation of a motor vehicle, a boat, a plane, or anything like that while under the influence of medical marijuana.
Does it allow an employer to fire an employee if he or she has got a card?
It does not require an employer to make accommodations for someone that has a medical marijuana card.
Mm-hmm.
The question you just asked is an employment law question that neither Jessica or I could answer without more facts.
Well, the Department of Health can't answer that.
No, the Department of Health can set forth regulations.
So again,
And then
a lawyer enters.
well, in any employment law situation where someone's being fired.
Why are you ragging on lawyers?
I'm not
today?
lagging.
You have a problem with lawyers, Paul? We're
I
the
don't have a
nicest
problem. I'm
lawyers
just
you'll
telling
meet
you.
today.
I'm just
right?
asking the question:
Look.
Is this a definitive? Is it already been definitively decided? And it hasn't been.
No, and we won't know until July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Department of Health does their job and writes the regulations fairly and reasonably, which I know they have the capability of doing, then guess what? You'll never have to have a minute of lawyer time on any of it.
Let me ask both of you, and again, we have the executive director for, and I hope you guys return many times here because we need to. This is a
Ever developing.
we need
situation.
education on it,
Sure.
information. The founder of the organization Mississippi Cannabis Trade Association is Marcy Croft, and Jessica Rice is the executive director. Anybody else in the organization yet, or are you still building?
We're still building from the ground up.
But we do have a number of other local businesses and entrepreneurs and business leaders that have already joined the association.
How is it possible? Is any one entity going to capture most of the market in the state of Mississippi?
I hope not.
Is that a possibility under the rules that are set forth?
I think under Initiative 65, no, because it encourages an open market, which is something that the association is very in favor of. We want it to be accessible to all Mississippians.
I understand that, but let's just say let's just pick a wild thing, a state representative who pushed a bill through, decided that he would like to capture the market. Would that be also defined by the state health department?
No, I think that would be defined by competition. So whoever is involved in these companies, first of all, the supply, this is one product where supply typically always outweighs demand, right? And so no matter how, we are going to need as many companies, as many manufacturers as we can to meet the demand that will exist in the state.
Do you agree that maybe I'm conservative when I repeat the phrase that it could be a $5 billion business within $1 billion business within 5 years?
I agree. You're conservative.
Too
on
conservative.
That.
You think it'll be more than that?
Yeah.
So that means a lot of tax dollars lost.
That's right. If we don't do right.
Well, what is do right?
let the will of the voters and the people of Mississippi push through. Let's move forward.
You think there should be more legislation to do that?
No, we don't need it.
Is there any legislation that you're currently worried about now?
Not anymore.
It's dead?
We'll see.
Real quick, and I only got about 10 seconds. When do you think the earliest is where somebody could walk into a bricks and mortar?
I think it'll be late 2021, if not early 2022.
Late 2021, meaning the fall or winter, the winter of this year, the spring of next year.
Correct.
Correct.
I think that is conservative.